Roxy Theatre for another round of our Roxy series. This is the 7th annual, I'm not going to call it the Christmas concert, I'm going to call it Tanglefoot at Christmas. 7 years, it's been a great round, guys. Last year, Tanglefoot, after their Christmas concert here, drove to Ottawa, where they won the Best Vocal Group for 2007 at the Canadian Folk Music Awards. And actually, it is on display. The award is on display at the CD table, so don't forget to get your CDs. Our sponsors for this evening is Rob Dinsmore from Williams Flowers, a beautiful decor in the lobby area, and our season sponsor is Pretty Portraits, John Pretty. Don't forget our 50-50 draws. It will be announced at the end of the intermission. And please do join us after the show. We're having a meet and greet. The band's coming out. The bar's staying open. There'll be a little bit of food, and I think we'll party a little bit. Enjoy the show.
All you brave young soldier lads with their strong and manly bearing, I'll tell you a tale of a woman holding her feet of honest daring. Roxy was American, born in the state of Massachusetts, but she made her home in Canada and proved so faithful to us. There's American guns and 500 men, so the warning must be given. And lowering your saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. There's soldiers pounding at the door, and they come from across the border. American officers march inside, it's food and drink they've ordered. In comfort they have claimed and to write their own success they've toasted. But they pay no heed to the women who use their time to lightly boasted. There's American guns and 500 men, so the warning must be given. And lowering your saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. Oh, James, I've overheard it all, a surprise attack they're making. Fitzgibbon they intend to smash his men for prisoners taking. And James, a warning never you'll take with your wounded knee and shoulder. I myself must hurry it past the sentries and the soldiers. There's American guns and 500 men, so the warning must be given. And lowering your saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. It's an all-day tramp to the British camp by way of Shipman's Corner. There's snakes and flies and sweat in her eyes. There is no respite for her. She's lost her shoes in the muck and the bog. Her feet are torn and blistered. But there's many a soldier lad to be spared and the message be delivered. There's American guns and 500 men, so the warning must be given. And lowering her saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. So all you Yankee soldier lads who dare to cross our border, thinking to save us from ourselves, usurping British order. There's women and men, Canadians, all of every rank and station, to stand on guard and keep us free from Yankee domination. There's American guns and 500 men, so the warning must be given. And lowering your saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. And lowering your saucy cord was a stalwart heart to brave the heat and the flies in the swamp to warn Colonel Fitzgibbon. Working all week and the boys need a drink. A couple quarts of whiskey, we'd be in the pink. But we got no money and there's nothing to sell. And a lumberjack's credit is worthless. Yeah!
no whiskey, says young Willie kind, and we got no money to spend. I suspect you can learn a lesson to learn how a clever lumberjack keeps the money that he earns. Well, Cather taught me this, I'll teach you in turn. We're off to McCafferty's barn. We've been working all week and the boys need to drink a couple quarts of whiskey would be in the pit, but we got no money and there's nothing to sell, and the lumberjack's credit is worthless. To the bar with young Willie in tow, the kettle in hand, to McCafferty you go. We'll be eating some whiskey for the boys, don't you know? 3 quarts in the kettle if you please. McCafferty pours us 3 quarts deep, then we tell him we'll come back and we'll pay him in a week. He said, stupid lumberjack, he got some chicken, he pours the 3 quarts back. We've been working all week and the boys didn't drink a couple quarts of whiskey, we'd be in the pink, but we got no money and there's nothing to sell, and the lumberjack's credit is worthless. Do you think a lumberjack is no grain and all wrong?
Well, you wanted to hear the rest of the story, didn't you?
I just mean plain. Are you thinking that the drink we got was all gone? Well, we had 2 quarts of water in the kettle all along, and what's left is 3/5 whiskey. We've been working all week, now boys have a drink. Here is your whiskey, now we're in the pink. We'll drink even when there's no money about. For a sly lumberjack gives his whiskey without. We've been working all week, now boys have a drink. Here is your whiskey, now we're in the pink. We'll drink even when there's no money about. For a sly lumberjack gives his whiskey without. you'll hear from Billy's 12 gauge. Cause it's Bill who calls the shots. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken from the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken with the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. The Colorado River is where Billy hides his gin. Wearing men's pantaloons not meant for swimming in. No matter if you laugh, well, he don't care what you think. Billy's got his reasons for those really underthings. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken with the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken with the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. There's a remedy in Billy's heart for a town that's cold and dry. Coats and hats for the village kids, his revenue will buy. Ill-gotten gain and good things come from Billy still. And not a dollar for himself, the man called Dollar Bill. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken with the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. Down to the river, blues on the run. Here's Dollar Bill with his old shotgun. Chicken with the lodge, uncle in the pay. Make a lot of money and give it all away. You know, if you're wondering who we were all pointing at, or at least who I was pointing at in Laura Secord about Yankee domination, it's our friend Missy Iverson from Minneapolis, who's sitting in the front row here. She's been here before. And we've spent, she was at our show last night in Toronto as well, and we spent the last 24 hours trying to explain prorogation. So, you know, yeah. Anyway, when we were, some of you may have heard this before, but when we were in England a year and a half ago, we played in the town of Boston, in Lincolnshire, one day, and a little music club there, and we got to the show in the middle of the afternoon, like we usually do, and we set up, and then we all went uptown to get something to eat, and the rest of these guys all went up the high street to this Indian restaurant a really nice place where we'd eaten before. But I didn't feel like Indian that day, and so I walked a little bit further along by myself, and I went to this pizza place and just got from a pizza takeaway, and I just got this pizza, and I was going to take it back to the venue and just eat it by myself, have dinner by myself, read the newspaper or whatever. And so I was walking back along the high street with my pizza, you know, and I walked past the restaurant where they were sitting, and I could see them from across the street. They were sitting inside this big picture window waiting for their table, and I waved at them as I walked by, you know, and they all waved back. Looked really happy. And I walked a little further along, and then I thought, I have a good idea. And you know, like when you're already up in public, in front of people all the time, like we are, you really shouldn't go and look for other opportunities to make an idiot of yourself. But nonetheless, I thought it would be funny. What I did was I crossed the street and went back to the restaurant, but I kind of walked up against the side of the building so they couldn't see me coming out the window, and I got to the edge of the window, and then I put my pizza down the sidewalk, and I scrunched myself up against the wall, and I crept along, you know, underneath the big sill. I got right in the middle of the window, and I was drowning. 1, 2, 3, and I went, woo! Like that. Except by then they'd been seated at their table, and there was somebody else sitting there.
Yeah. So for about a year and a half now, there's this little boy in Boston who's been taking therapy. Mommy, is the hairy man coming back tonight?
He will do if you don't eat your sausages.
We don't play in Boston anymore.
That's true, actually. And all the way home in the van, we had this discussion. Well, I didn't discuss, I listened, they talked. And about the difference between having a good idea and having an idea. So,
Joe Grant had an idea. It turns out it was a good one. It was about 12 or 13 years ago. We were playing over in Midland. And Joe was our original fiddle player and our chief songwriter back in the day. And anyway, we were heading up on stage for our first set of the evening, and Joe was going up first, so we all came along behind him. And he got to the top of the stairs, the side of the stage, and he stopped. And he turned around to us and he said, "I've got this great idea for a song." And now, no surprise, because I mean, he was dreaming up songs all the time, and great ones too, but this was, you know, a particularly inconvenient moment to be dreaming up a new song, you know, when we're just supposed to go out and play. Anyway, he said, "I've got this great idea for a song. I just hope that I can keep it in my head until the intermission."
he did.
Yes,
No,
yes,
he did. He did keep that song in his head until the intermission. There were 8 songs he was supposed to remember how to play in the first set. That kind of made room for it a little bit, but he didn't remember it.
It's kind of a bumpy 45 minutes. But in the end, I think the trade-off was worthwhile, because what we got out of it was this song. It's called "The Old Broken Soldier."
I left for the war. How long it's been since you held me, promising love for the rich or the poor, for better or worse, when we said we'd be true. Now I'm back and the bloody war's through. My queen, I can't tell you how cold it feels when the battle is done. How bitter the taste of the powder. How deep the face of a comrade cut down. For better or worse, we believe. me down on a deep feather bed. Hold me close and cradle my head. I'm an old broken soldier back from the war, and the way we once loved I can't love no more. So lay me down on a deep feather bed. Let me taste the sweet of your breath. Your voice is so soft and your words so sweet. So just lay me down and sing me to sleep. Was I dreaming? I heard you sing. It was just like before. I looked in your eyes, they were gleaming with tears of delight, promising more of the pleasure we knew every night and every day. Till the light war came and took me away. Brian, can we have a little bit, I don't think we have any piano in sport. If we get a little bit, please. You're a good man. Well, as Steve said, we do a lot of touring. He mentioned the UK. We are fortunate to be on an extended part of our tour this year where we don't have to leave the province of Ontario. We don't have to leave Canada, and that makes us rather happy, let me tell you. Let's have a little shout out for our country. Is anyone? Notwithstanding. And the reason I say this isn't just sheer patriotism, of course. I hope we have some Tanglefoot newbies in the crowd. And I don't just say that for the sake of the merchandise table. Although it crossed my mind. And the reason I say that, if you're a newbie out there, you may be aware, maybe someone's told you, or maybe you've gleaned it so far from the numbers, that although all our songs are original material, our material is based very heavily on Canadian history, Canadian stories, Canadian tradition, folklore, a little bit of fake lore. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's our motto here at Tanglefoot. And we find as we tour these songs with the UK and in Canada, but we also tour extensively in the United States. Okay, I should stop here. If there are any Americans in the crowd right now, I want you to know this next part doesn't apply to you. Especially if you come from those border states where you know what a snowdrift looks like and you can describe an offside play in hockey. You know, if you can do that, you're practically Canadian anyway. But when we tour these songs a little further into the states, maybe the Virginias, the North Carolinas, we sometimes find that the requisite amount of knowledge about our fair country that's required if you're to fully appreciate a Tanglefoot concert, well, that level sometimes isn't quite there. Case in point, and it happened just about a year ago, I think. We were doing a lovely concert in Virginia, just south of the Beltway in the Washington, D.C. area. We just finished the concert, and a lady came running at me right up on the stage. She had a big plastic shopping bag in her hand, and she said, "Rob, guess what?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "We're going to Canada next summer. We're going to take our vacation up there, and we're going to tour all the places you just sang about. And this is what we're going to use." And she pulled a box out of that shopping bag. GPS. Now it's quiz time here in the Roxy Theater. What does the G stand for in GPS? Global. The box read, "New and improved GPS now includes Canada."
Doesn't that explain so very much? Well, this next song is one of those songs we need to tell Southern Americans about. We need to explain about who the Voyageurs were. Now this song, the idea for this song actually came from my very first tour with Tanglefoot. That was back in 1999, and you know, I'm a Southern Ontario boy. I've lived in and around Toronto my whole life, and well, I was pretty excited to join a band that would take me right across Canada and into the United States, and of course over to Great Britain. And they said, "Terry, for your very first tour, we have a wonderful festival lined up for you. It's Festival de Voyageurs, which is a celebration of French culture." But they didn't tell me they'd be taking me to Winnipeg in February. And man, it was cold. Now, I thought a great way to warm myself up to these guys, not really knowing them, was to go out and buy a nice big bottle of single malt scotch, which I did, and proudly presented it to them in the hotel room. Discovered that all these guys at Tanglefoot, well, they're nothing but a bunch of teetotalers. They took their polite wussy sips, then I grabbed my bottle of scotch and stashed it back in my car. Now, as I recall, we had a wonderful time at a festival, and Joe Grant and I started working on this song. Now, Joe was full of fascinating information about the Voyageurs. He said, you know, these guys often had two wives. They had their city wife, a woman they probably met and married in Quebec, but as they traveled the riverways west, well, they often married what was referred to as the country wife. Now, the country wife, more often than not, was an Indian woman. In fact, it's the marriage of French and Indian blood that created the Métis race. Something else Joe told me was that these guys wore these huge belts, the ceinture flèche, and the reason that they wore them more than anything else was to prevent hernias. It's true, because hernias were the number one thing that killed these guys from carrying those huge canoes over vast portages.
Yeah, incidentally, the number 2 cause of death, that's when the city wife found out about the country wife. Let's see a little belt sagging out, Jean-Paul.
You've got to do a lot more than just Google to find out this stuff, folks. Now, something else Joe told me was that if these guys got caught out in the cold, you know, in the depths of winter, well, what they would do to survive is they would strip down naked, and they would huddle against one another.
Now just absorb that image for a minute.
Now I said to Joe, why didn't these guys just drink some alcohol? I mean, wouldn't that have been a little less personal? Joe says to me, no. You know what happens if you drink alcohol out in the cold, folks? It actually lowers your body temperature, and you're much more likely to freeze to death. So here we were, Joe and I, driving back to Southern Ontario after Festival. And we're driving the northern route. There's a stretch of road north of Lake Superior between the towns of Nipigon and Hearst that is over 100 kilometers of nothing but snow and trees and rock. And I remember it clearly. It was a beautiful night for driving, about 2 a.m., nobody on the road. Joe and I were working on this next song. But then, somewhere along that route, we both realized that my gas gauge was less than a quarter tank. And our conversation stopped. And you know, those Voyager images I was just telling you about? Well, I decided right then and there, if worse came to worse, that bottle of scotch wouldn't be so bad after all. We got a good song of it. It's called Dance Like Flames, and it's the title track from our latest CD. Shine on my childhood dreams. Last year I twined with you, crying, maybe dying for my liberty, to bend you back against the wind, far away from my love of the forest alive, with the voyager. Where we savor the highway, sing tonight, and we dance like flames beneath the sea of stars, burn bright against the dark and the cold. The sweet kiss of summer will let you part again, to linger in our hearts for tomorrow. Twists and turns like a restless dream of love. If I could hold you now, come the rayon de soleil, I'd dream you free as the wind, and how you move through the pines above, and sing to me this song in the rhythm of the paddle and the violin. We dance like flames beneath the sea of stars, burn bright against the dark and the cold. The sweet kiss of summer will let you part again, to linger in our hearts for tomorrow. Staring at this broken moon, rippled in the water's cold. Angelique, when must you fight against my very soul? Childhood heart, 1,000 miles from you, still the wind seemed to whisper, we're just a breath apart. Let's just see our rendezvous. Out upon there is that stream and bird, for music fills the air, and dark eyes are singing to me of your love. We dance like flames beneath the sea of stars, burn bright against the dark and the cold.
Thanks so much, and thanks for letting me get that little rant off my chest before the song. And now that I've done that, I can continue on and discuss a topic that's a far happier one, a subject close to my heart, me. And what I want to discuss is the interesting tenure I have with this band. It's actually in two parts. I was with this band from 1996 to 2002, at which point my second son was born, and the band was just about to fly off to the United Kingdom, and my wife said, wait a minute. So they flew, and I went to the maternity ward, and out came the second son, and I was on paternity leave for a while, indefinitely, and it was interesting, though, just before that, we had just completed the album Agnes on the Cowcatcher. And in that album, and in the process, I had come to write with the help of Alan there, a song that paid tribute to childbirth, but not just any childbirth. It paid tribute to the tradition of midwifery. And the inspiration came from the birth of my first son, actually, when we were living in Toronto, and the Toronto Midwives Collective did such a wonderful job. The midwife there was so skilled and so poised and so graceful in the way she looked after my wife, Andrea, and the way she lovingly caught little baby Josh, and the way she picked me up off the floor when I passed out. I thought that was actually quite nice. She was gentle all the way around. And actually, the tradition of midwifery is very central to this band. I mean, my grandmother was a midwife way back when, and I know...
my two youngest kids were both caught by
both
midwives.
caught, and both my sons were caught by midwife. And Steve's little guy who's running around the building somewhere.
My future children. One needs a plan.
Should that be of interest to anyone out there in the crowd, Terry will be up in the lobby waiting for questionnaires. I don't know where to go from that. I think we better just play this song. This is called Midwife's Dance.
Finally cried, I need him now. So a pair of weathered hands that kept the vigil through the night stroked her forehead, urged the new life toward the lantern light. I need him now. I need you now. I can't go watching crying. Her desperate eyes look back in pain. Her gentle words made one more search toward the flame. He was born November's child, born into a cabin small of hearth and quilt and cedar walls and a midwife's dance. A woman stares straight out the windshield as the rain comes down in sheets, and her husband guides the Packard through the traffic of the busy city streets. Daylight hurts in the tail, she pants and grab Ruth back north. How for years she caught the babies, wrapped them up, and laid them by the stove for war. And she moans a little urgent day, wish Grandma Ruth were here with me, and with a tight grip imagines this scene. He was born November's child, born into a cabin small trusted keeper of the light, turns back the child to mother's breast. The newborn cry, newborn parents gasp. Great grandpa comes in quiet and slow to see this life begun at home the way that his life started so long ago. Was born November's child, born into a cabin small, apart than quilt and cedar walls. He was born November's child, born into a cabin small, apart than quilt and cedar walls. And a midwife's
Yeah, that was Sandra on fiddle. But to get back to me, another interesting thing about me happened, if you are me, it's interesting. Shortly after that son Josh was born, my family, we decided to move from downtown Toronto, population far too many, up to my hometown of Wyerton, population 2004. And you see, it was interesting because I was, as I said, I was away from the band at that point, and it wasn't more than a week when my good friend Mr. David Nixon phoned me up and said, "Rob, I hear you're not doing that folk music thing anymore." And I said, "Yeah?" He said, "Well, how would you like to join our country roadhouse band?" And I thought, "Sure. How much can that hurt?" That can hurt. Yeah. Some of those chicken wire taverns up in the peninsula, I can tell you. I'll tell you what. I know what I'm talking about. You come here. You dress up well tonight, but you can come here. But fortunately, not every gig was, deer hunting season, trying to get 30 men in a room to dance. With guns. Fortunately, the bulk of the work that this band got, and I still get to play with them every once in a while, it's a lot of fun actually, and most of the gigs are actually dances. They're private functions, they're happy occasions, they're wedding receptions, they're engagement parties, they're anniversaries and birthdays and divorce parties. Surprisingly happy affairs actually. And I found out in the course of learning the material with this band, I discovered that you had to learn just about every musical genre that appealed to the musical taste of everyone from the age of 8 to the age of 98 and everything in between. And I made my peace with every one of these musical genres, except one. The hurtin' country song. Now I'm talking about the old standards. I'm talking about your Crystal Chandeliers, your Tennessee waltzes. I mean, for the first little while, I was just trying to learn the music, right? And then after a while, I started listening to the music. And you can't pack more misery into 3 minutes of lyrics than some of these songs. I mean, holy tell somebody in a bad mood when they pen this stuff. But it doesn't matter. No matter how much anguish is in those words, every time we broke into one of these songs, a husband looks at a wife. And a wife looks at a husband, and his eyes get wide, and her smile gets wider, and they stand up, they're playing our song, and they get around, and they dance to this death knell. I don't get that. There was only one way I was going to get that. That's right. I had to write me my own country song. Now, as I said earlier, largely the topic I like to talk about is myself. So this song is in the end about me, because in my hurtin' country song, nobody loses a wife for a gun or a truck or a dog or anything like that. No, they lose something far more vital to their being: use of the electric piano. This is called Gershwin on the Range. Oh, I haven't started yet. Oh, yeah. 2, 3, 2, 2. They're big down in the foothills by the dust, lonely gray lane. And the cowboys plug guitars and mouth harps, but there's no Gershwin on the range tonight. The horses are fed and they're watered, and the cowhands all head fireside. And one in their midst is still lonely, 'cause there's no Gershwin on the range tonight. There's a woman back home in Calgary, and she's crying herself to sleep, 'cause her loved one took work in the foothills, but he can't plug in his electric keys. Guitar. Back to our story. So she bought up every extension, and she plugged them in end to end. From her outlet stretched tight to the foothills, so Gershwin could be heard by all the directions. The first task, move camp an extra 3 feet. There's a woman back home in Calgary, and she knows that something ain't right, 'cause her love line's gone limp, and it's frozen, and there's no Gershwin on the range tonight, 'cause her love line is limp, and it's frozen. There's no Gershwin on the range. Them cowboys hate change. It was just too damn strange. I got one more. The piano got deranged. That's gone over worse. No Gershwin on the range tonight. No Gershwin on the range tonight. Oh, I need a hug.
De la jolie Rachel, de la jolie Rachel, j'ai rencontré vos jolies demoiselles. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. J'ai rencontré toi jolie demoiselle, j'ai rencontré toi jolie demoiselle, j'ai pas choisi, mais j'ai pris la plus belle. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. J'ai pas choisi, mais j'ai pris la plus belle. J'ai pas choisi, mais j'ai pris la plus belle. J'ai pris mon thé derrière moi sur Marcel. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. C'est la belle qui nous mène, c'est la belle qui nous mène là-haut. no key to bed.